is now January 18th. We are coming up really close to February 1st, which is the beginning of Black History Month. Some organizations may have a full plan at this point. Some of them may be realizing, oh, this is coming up a little faster than we thought. We're not quite there yet. So how can organizations responsibly prepare without putting expectations of emotional labor on their Black employees? What can we do for this year? What can we do for next year? What does that look like?
If you haven't already done things, so start thinking about next year now. This happens every year. So the beauty of this is we already know it's coming up. You already have it on the calendar. They put it up there for you. So you can start thinking ahead of time. What are we going to do to honor, our Black colleagues and, fellow citizens, right? So pre-planning. Now, if you're just looking on today and like, oh yeah, that's coming up, we need to start thinking about things. There's definitely this fine line between getting the input of your BIPOC staff, but not putting all of that emotional labor on them to do all of the Black things, right? And so how are we honoring this month intentionally? And how are we doing this annually in an intentional way that's not really last minute? I think it's really important to sit with.
Yeah, and to add to that, a lot of almost every year you see that post or that meme that's out there that says, Black History Month isn't just Black history, it's American history, it's international history, right? And so I think a lot of us need to really reflect on how we're even celebrating some of these months, right? Like, are you separated from this month? In what ways have folks within the Black community, within the Black diaspora, contributed to where you are today, right? Or even your current workplace or your community, your environment? And while it's important to honor and celebrate Black history in the workplace, let it not stop there, right? What are some things that you're doing in your community? How are you also leading the way as a manager, as a colleague, or whatever your role is in the workplace? Where, to Rachel's point, if you're kind of late and you're like, we don't want to put something together and be messy about it, what role are you taking as an individual? Maybe you have certain platforms like Slack or even here on LinkedIn, and you want to share and connect with your colleagues. That's an opportunity to do so. We've worked with a client before who every month she's really been trying to figure out, how do I not tokenize folks from certain communities, but then how do I also do this in a way that feels good, right? And one of the things that she's really been focusing on is having those conversations within those platforms, right? Sharing some prompts during the month. Sometimes it doesn't have to be this big event, and if it is, awesome, but also those conversations that you're having daily and weekly also contribute to honoring and celebrating Black History Month. And then also, we're the Black folks at your company, right? And so if we're thinking about creating that change that we talked about as we defined equity and inclusion earlier, what does your staffing look like right now? And are folks really represented across the hierarchy, right? What we've noticed through DEI data is that a lot of times folks who are Black and other racialized minorities in the US are oftentimes frontline staff. But as you climb up that ladder, it gets wider, it gets more male, it gets more heterosexual, more able-bodied, and so forth. And so how do we take a moment to say, not only are we celebrating and honoring Black History Month, but we're also doing the work by fixing and adjusting our structures and systems so that folks are adequately represented at our company.
Mm-hmm. And just because it's a month on the calendar does not mean that that's the only time, like you were saying, that we acknowledge the contributions of these folks, right? Like also thinking about, this country was built on the backs of African enslaved people for free. And constantly acknowledging that, like thinking about how you're honoring that, looking at where you are within, the country, in the world rather, and how those contributions help to get to, you where you are today. And outside of February, this is not the only time we can acknowledge that and honor them.